In this video, we're going to figure out how we can take the two fractions that you see that do not have the same denominators and rewrite them as fractions that will have the same denominators so that we can subtract them. The first thing I always tell my classes to do is take the problem that you see and rewrite it vertically. We're going to say 5 over n plus 6 minus 4 over n minus 1. By now, all of us realize that in order to add or subtract fractions, you've got to have the same denominators. Right now, we have two different denominators. In our work with least common multiple, we found out that sometimes the way you get the least common multiple of your denominators is to actually multiply the denominators together. That's what we're going to do in this case. We're going to multiply n plus 6 times n minus 1, and that is going to give us the least common denominator for these two problems. This could also be expressed as being the least common multiple for n plus 6 and for n minus 1. That least common multiple would be n plus 6 times n minus 1. So what we have to do now is take a look at our first fraction that we had right here. How has it changed as we went to the new fraction? Well, our denominator is the big thing that has changed. On the left side, we have just n plus 6. Now on the right, we have n plus 6, and we also have n minus 1. So it's obvious that what I did is I multiplied n plus 6 times n minus 1. If I do that in the denominator, I've got to do the same thing in the numerator. I've got to multiply by n minus 1 in the numerator because I already did it here in the denominator. That changes a bit as we look at our second fraction here, because in the beginning we had n minus 1 already. And now what is different is our n plus 6. So if I have multiplied my denominator by n plus 6, which clearly I did, this was my denominator right here. I multiplied it by n plus 6. I'm going to have to go back and multiply my numerator also by n plus 6. Now what we have is a change in the original problem. At this point, our problem can be rewritten as 5 times n minus 1 over n plus 6 times n minus 1. And we're going to subtract from that 4 times n plus 6 over n plus 6 and another factor n minus 1. Now, we know that when we add or subtract and the denominator is the same, that our final answer is going to have that denominator. So I'm going to go ahead and write my final denominator there so I don't get confused. Now I'm going to go back and take a look at where we are in our problem. You can see that we've got to distribute this 5 and we have to distribute this 4. So I'm going to go about doing that now. 5 times n will give me 5n, and 5 times negative 1 gives me negative 5. Now this subtraction sign right here is very important. I'm going to put my subtraction sign here. I'm going to draw parentheses because it is going to affect everything that I get when I multiply 4 times n, which is 4n, and 4 times 6, which is 24, positive 24. And remember now, we still have our common denominator of n plus 6 and n minus 1. So now let's go and take a look at our numerator and see where we are. we're going to have, notice right here, see this subtraction sign is going to change everything. So watch what I do. I'm going to write 5n minus 5 because that stays the same. And then this subtraction sign is going to affect the 4n. It's going to become negative 4n. And it's also going to affect our 24. At this point, the only thing that I have left to do is combine like terms. So I will do that by saying 5n minus 4n, that gives me 1n. And negative 5 minus 24 gives me a negative 29. And all of that is over my common denominator of n plus 6 times n minus 1. I suggest you watch this a time or two and get back to me online in Google Classroom if you have questions.